It is time. The 2024 NBA playoffs are here. The play-in tournament has completed. We know that the Sixers, the Heat, the Lakers, and the Pelicans have advanced, and it's time to make our playoff bracket picks. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Let's make our playoff bracket predictions. I will leave a link to the bracket challenge the NBA does in the description if you want to make your own picks. And let me know in the comments as well, who do you have making it to the conference finals, the NBA finals, and who is your 2024 NBA finals champion? Also, I'm currently giving away a brand new Xbox Series X over on my Instagram in honor of the NBA playoffs starting. Link is in the description. Go enter. It's free to do, and you can possibly win a brand new Xbox. I feel like this year is completely wide open in both conferences. Yes, there are their favorites like the Boston Celtics in the East, like the Denver Nuggets in the West, but I feel like so many different teams can make it to the conference finals, and that's why I think that this is going to be a great playoff as a whole. Like, so many round one matchups could go either way. I've been going back and forth on so many of my predictions, and I really can't wait to fill this out and just watch the playoffs. Like, the playoffs start today. I am so excited. The bracket locks in 5 days, so you have all week to make this. So hey, if a team's down 3-0, I think you can still make a pick. So let's start off with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans were a play-in tournament team. They were the favorite as the 7th seed, but they lost to the Lakers. Then they beat the Kings last night. These teams have played 3 times this season. Super early in the year, November 1st, the Pelicans beat the Thunder 110-106. Then they played again in January. The Thunder blew them out. They ended up winning 107-83. And then once again, most recently in March, they won 119-112. The Thunder won that game. So they're 2-1 in the season series with the Thunder. Now, if Zion Williamson was healthy, I think I would pick the Pelicans. I would actually pick the Pelicans to upset the Thunder, an 8 seed beating a 1 seed for the 2nd straight year, because last year we saw it with the Heat beating the Milwaukee Bucks. I would like the size and the physicality that the Pelicans could go up against the Thunder, and I think they're a pretty even matchup as a 1-8 seed. And like the defense that the Pelicans could do and their switchability with Herb Jones, Jordan Hawkins, Trey Murphy, even Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, I thought it would be a lot, and throw in Jose Alvarado as well. But with Zion Williamson most likely out for most of this series, if not all of it, I don't think that the Pelicans beat the Thunder. So I do think that the Thunder end up winning in 5 games, but I would actually have taken Pelicans in 6 or 7 if Zion Williamson is healthy. That's like a weird thing with the play-in tournament, because if we didn't have the play-in tournament, Jimmy Butler and Zion Williamson would be healthy for round number 1, and both 7th and 8th seeds ended up making it anyway. The Thunder were heavy favorites as well to win this series. They're like minus 650. So right now, round number 1, Clippers Mavericks. Oh baby, this may be my favorite round 1 series to watch. It's a pretty even series going into this. Like the betting odds, the picks, it's pretty much even each way with the Clippers and the Mavericks. They verse each other twice throughout the regular season. They split those games. Both these teams happened back in November as well. So these teams obviously look completely different. And now like James Harden's on the Clippers. The Mavericks added PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline. I like the Mavericks to beat the Clippers in the series in 7 games. I've been going back and forth, and I really like the Clippers to win as well. Like I thought about it, but I think there's just too many question marks with the Clippers. Have we seen Paul George and Kawhi Leonard be healthy for a full playoff series together in recent time? No. Which James Harden are we going to get? Are we going to get someone that's going to buy in, that's going to knock down his shots? We know how he performs in the playoffs. I just think Luka Doncic is playing better than almost any other guy in the NBA right now. Kyrie Irving has been a beautiful number 2 to Luka Doncic, and the additions of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford have made the Mavericks one of the better defensive teams post-trade deadline. I like the momentum Dallas has, and I think they pull off the upset against the Clippers in round number 1. Now we got the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. They played each other 3 times this year, and Phoenix won all 3 of those games. Most recently on April 14th when Phoenix won 125-106 and Karl Anthony Towns was back for that game. It's pretty much an even series in betting odds as well. And I'm honestly going to pick the upset. I think Phoenix beats Minnesota in 6 games. I do think the scoring versatility that Phoenix has is going to be a nightmare for Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in that front court. And we haven't really seen Rudy Gobert or Karl Anthony Towns be good playoff performers yet either. Anthony Edwards is going to have to carry this Minnesota team if they want to survive and advance. I like KD. He's been one of the best offensive players this season. Devin Booker has been a phenomenal point guard for them. Honestly, Bradley Beal's been a good enough number 3. I don't love Yusuf Nurkic at the 5, and there is a scenario where they just get out rebounded and just can't keep up with Minnesota's length, but I like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to pull off the upset and beat Minnesota in 6. And this would be somewhat of a disappointing season for Minnesota, finishing one game out of the top record in the West and then getting bounced in round number 1. And then lastly, we have Denver and LA. Honestly, I think LA, out of any other team here, will give Denver the most run for their money. And yes, there's a scenario where LeBron is just LeBron and they end up beating and pulling off a major upset over the Nuggets, but they are heavy underdogs right now. Denver, in my opinion, is still the best team in the Western Conference, at least throughout the regular season. They're the reigning finals champions. I don't think they lose. I think it's going to be a very close 5 games. The Nuggets sweep over the Lakers last year in the conference finals ended up being one of the closest sweeps ever. Like, every game was close. I think every game here will be close as well, but I can't take the Lakers to beat Jokic when they haven't beaten them in a couple of years. Jokic has owned the Lakers in recent memory. I'm going to take the Nuggets to advance. Now for the Eastern Conference, man. If we had healthy Jimmy Butler going up against Boston, oh man, I would be so tempted to take Miami in round 1. They played each other 3 times throughout the regular season, and Boston won all 3 of those games. And Jimmy Butler is looking like he's going to be out for the whole series. So that means I don't really think Miami's going to get it done. I don't even know if they steal a game from Boston without Jimmy Butler. So I think it's going to be a sweep for Boston. My first predicted sweep. If Jimmy Butler was playing, I'd realistically probably take Boston in 6 or 7. But with no Jimmy Butler, I think Boston ends up sweeping them. Cleveland, Orlando. Oh man, this is going to be a fun matchup. I like both of these teams a ton. Orlando exceeded expectations this year, was one of the more physical defensive teams and one of the best defensive teams in the Eastern Conference, but they are incredibly young. Now, Cleveland had a disappointing round 1 exit to the Knicks last year. They were super inconsistent this season. Jared Allen was great. They added some great bench pieces like Georges Niang and Max Strus. Isaac Okoro was much better from what he was last year. Evan Mobley is fully healthy, it seems, but there's too many inconsistencies health-wise for Donovan Mitchell this season, and just kind of confidence-wise with Darius Garland. Darius Garland's going to be a huge X factor in this series. They played each other 3 times throughout the regular season. Cleveland won the series 2-1 throughout the regular season, playing in January and 2 games in December. So it's been a minute since these 2 teams have played, and I think it's going to be a super fun series. I'm going to take Cleveland, though, to win in 6 games. I do think that the lack of experience for Orlando is going to catch up to them, and I also worry who's going to step up outside of Paolo Banchero, right? This is going to be Paolo Banchero's first playoff series. Franz Wagner was super inconsistent this season, especially with his jumper. I love Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac, and those guys are studs on the defensive end of the floor, but it's a different beast in the playoffs offensively. Are they going to be confident enough with their shots? And if Paolo Banchero isn't having a good game in any of these 6, who's going to step up, right? I do think Cleveland's a little bit deeper. I do think they're a better team overall, and I think that they are going to beat Orlando. Oh man, this Bucks-Pacers series, I've had the most trouble predicting this one because of the uncertainty with Giannis Antetokounmpo's health. And Indiana was phenomenal against Milwaukee throughout the regular season. They played each other 5 times since they're both in the Central Division. Indiana beat them 4-1. 4-1 in those 5 games. I also believe one of those games was also the in-season tournament as well. That's why it was 5. And there was that game ball incident as well where Giannis had that scoring record for Milwaukee, but Oscar Tshiebwe, the Pacers, scored his first career point. You remember that fiasco. And Giannis is going to miss some time throughout this series as well. It's questionable that he's going to play game 1. I doubt he does. He may not even play game 2. The Indiana Pacers pick is a huge favorite for everybody out there, but I'm actually going to go with Milwaukee to win this series in 7 games. Damian Lillard has a lot of pressure right now. Getting that trade from Portland to Milwaukee, he can't afford a first-round exit. Milwaukee's had multiple different coaches this season, and this would be a colossal failure of a year if they get bounced in round 1. Indiana's good, man. They've also added Pascal Siakam as well this year. They're a very good team. I could see them going up 2-0 as well, but Giannis is one of the best players we have also seen in the playoffs, and if he's fully healthy, something we haven't really gotten in quite some time because he was injured against Miami last year, he can carry this team, and I think he's going to miss some time, but not enough where Indiana is going to win this series. And if Milwaukee could just steal one of the first 2 games, I think they'll be okay, and they're going to beat the Pacers in 7. Oh, and then lastly, man, the series that is going to make me age so quickly, the Knicks versus the 76ers. They played each other 4 times throughout the year, both teams being in the Atlantic Division. The Knicks won the season series 3-1. Embiid missed some time in some of those games. Randall missed some time as well. OG also. And a 7-seed Sixers team with a healthy Embiid is a scary nightmare matchup. But I do think the Knicks have the depth and the defense to be just fine in this series. They have OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo, and Miles McBride. All 4 are phenomenal perimeter defenders that have great switchability, so I don't think that Maxey is going to beat them. I'm not too worried about Kyle Lowry or Nick Batum dropping 20 points a game in this series. Embiid is going to get his 30 and 10 no matter what. It's Joel Embiid. He's one of the best players in the league, but they have Mitchell Robinson fully healthy. They have Isaiah Hartenstein, who's going to get some all-defensive second-team consideration. I think the Knicks will be okay, even if one of those bigs gets into some foul trouble. I'm going to take the Knicks to win in 6 games, though. This could definitely be an upset waiting to happen. Now, this may be one of the best series of the playoffs. OKC versus Dallas. They played each other 4 times throughout the regular season, and OKC went 3-1 in the season series. Offensively, Shea versus Luka would be so much fun to watch, but I do think Dallas matches up well against OKC. I wonder if J-Dub is going to step up as a number 2, maybe be a playoff riser this year like Anthony Edwards last year. That is a possibility, but Dallas adding PJ Washington and having Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, that size and physicality to go up against OKC's lack of size, I'm going to take Dallas to pull off the upset in 6 games. I think Luka can carry this team to the conference finals, something we saw him do in 2022 with an inferior Dallas roster where Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson were the number 2s on that team, and Jalen Brunson is obviously great today, but Jalen Brunson in 2022 was not what Kyrie Irving is today. I'm a big fan of this Dallas team as long as Tim Hardaway Jr. does not shoot them out of games. I think they pull off the upset against OKC, who have an incredible season under their resume. They're an incredibly young team as well, so they're going to be back next year. And then Phoenix and Denver, a rematch of last year's round 2 series where we saw Denver dominate Phoenix. I think it's going to happen again. I think Denver wins in 5. Phoenix is going to be riding high after their round 1 series upset over Minnesota, but they're going to come back down to earth, going up against the beast of the Denver Nuggets and how well they play in the playoffs. We know how good Jamal Murray becomes in the playoffs as well. And Denver, they lost Bruce Brown last year, but I think they're going to be just fine with Peyton Watson developing, with Christian Brown having another year under his belt. And I do believe we're going to get a Nikola Jokic versus Luka Doncic conference finals in the West, which is going to be must-see television. So back to the Eastern Conference, Cleveland versus Boston. I have Cleveland in 5. This has similar vibes to the 2019 playoff series for Boston and Kyrie Irving, but for Cleveland, right? It's a little bit different because Kyrie was a free agent in 2019. Donovan Mitchell could be a free agent, not summer, but next summer. But I do think if Cleveland doesn't even show a fight in round number 2, Donovan Mitchell could get traded this offseason because they can't afford to lose him for nothing next year since they traded so many of their draft picks for him, and they can recoup some of those assets this offseason and still have a nice young core trio of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. They tried the Donovan Mitchell thing. It was a great idea, but unfortunately, there's too many inconsistencies with the team, and they have to get those assets back if Donovan Mitchell, who doesn't seem like he wants to extend at least right now, like he can't afford to lose him for nothing. And Boston is just so good. The switchability between Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum defensively is going to be a nightmare for Cleveland. Cleveland does have a little bit more size and strength inside, but as long as Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, I believe Boston will be okay. So I have them winning in 5. And then the Knicks versus the Bucks. They played each other 5 times throughout the regular season. Milwaukee's 3-2 against the Knicks because they played each other in the in-season tournament. They most recently played on April 7th in Milwaukee. New York blew them out. They ended up winning 122-109, ended up being a little bit closer than the game actually was. Milwaukee was trying to win that game. They wanted to get the 2 seed at the time, and New York beat them on the road. No Julius Randle. Giannis was healthy for this game. And people are going to cite like the Julius Randle injury as a reason the Knicks can't go far. I disagree. Randle has had 3 playoff series with the Knicks, and in 2021 against the Hawks in round 1, he was horrible. Last year against Cleveland in round 1, wasn't good, and in round 2 against Miami, also horrible, inefficient, doesn't benefit them on the defensive end in my opinion. And the Knicks still lack that second shot creator that they had in that Miami series last year because Randle wasn't on, RJ Barrett wasn't on. So that's why guys like Dante DiVincenzo, Bojan Bogdanovic, and OG Anunoby are going to be huge X factors for the Knicks because someone needs to step up offensively to help Jalen Brunson. But Milwaukee has too many holes defensively, and I don't think that their offense is good enough to go up against the Knicks defense, which is going to come alive under Tibbs in the playoffs. I got the Knicks winning in 7 games and advancing to the conference finals to go up against the Boston Celtics. So Western Conference Finals, Dallas versus Denver. Oh my God, I would just be so excited to watch this series. This is going to be so much fun if it does end up happening. I have Denver beating Dallas in 7 games. This is going to be an offensive shootout in my opinion. Both teams can be good defensively, but Luka versus Jokic, when it all matters, with the ball in their hands so much, is going to be just such a joy to watch. But I do think that Denver is still so good. I think that their window is still open with how good KCP has been defensively. Michael Porter Jr. is a complimentary shooter, and what Aaron Gordon provides this Denver team on both ends of the floor. You know what you're going to get offensively from Jamal Murray in the playoffs. playoffs, and Jokic just being Jokic, the best player in the league, I think Denver gets back to the finals. Oh man, I want to take the Knicks. I want to take my Knicks. I'm gonna be biased, but sometimes I gotta be a little bit real with myself. This Boston team is just so good. They have a historic net rating throughout the year and point differential. The big thing for them is their health. Can they stay healthy? They are healthy right now going to the playoffs. Their bench doesn't matter as much. They just need Sam Hauser to hit a couple threes, Peyton Pritchard not to turn the ball over, and Al Horford to play solid defense. And unfortunately, I do think that Boston would beat the Knicks in 6 games. I say that unfortunately because I'm a Knicks fan, but I'd be incredibly happy with this run that they would have had. And here we go, NBA Finals, Denver versus Boston. In my opinion, the 2 best teams in the NBA, best team in the West, going up against the best team in the East. They played each other twice throughout the regular season. Both of those games were very close, but Denver went 2-0, and I do think they get it done once again. I think that they would beat Boston in 6 games and go back-to-back. I know losing Bruce Brown will hurt, but like I said, Denver's window is still open with this core, and I believe they go back-to-back, the first time we have seen this since the 2017 and 2018 Golden State Warriors. So that is gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said, let me know in the comments what you think of my picks. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? I'm sure Knicks and Mavericks fans will be happy, but I'm sure that Thunder and Timberwolves fans would not be happy with my picks, but that's the beauty of this. Let me know what you have in the comments below as well. Thank you all for watching. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. Subscribe if you're not already. Hope we have a great playoffs, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.